Alrighty, so what do we have here? This is a Famicom. This is a boxed Famicom, but this isn't my Famicom. Well, it is, but not my original Famicom. This is the Famicom that I've had for probably, 14 years now at this point. You've seen it before. I've had this for a long time. And it's in pretty good condition. Honestly, I would say, very little yellowing on it. And compared to most of these that I've seen, I would say this is in better than average condition. Probably much better than average condition, honestly. It's in really good shape. And oh yeah, I almost forgot. It does have the manual there. I don't remember exactly how much I paid for this. Again, it was probably 14 years ago now at this point, but I think it was about $120. And of course, for a boxed Famicom in Canada, $120 Canadian, that was probably an average price back then. But now you would expect to pay a lot more than that for one of these. So why do I have another one? Well, let's get this one in here. This one was on Facebook Marketplace for $100 Canadian. Very cheap, especially today in 2025. A boxed Famicom in good condition is worth a lot more than that. So I saw this on Facebook Marketplace and I thought, wow, that's almost too good to be true. What's the deal? What's wrong with it? Is it a scam? Is it fake? Why is this so cheap? I didn't need a Famicom, so I didn't rush out and buy it. My coworker, though, however, who's also into retro games, he mentioned recently that he wanted a Famicom. He actually went to Japan back at the end of last year, and he wanted to get like a Famicom or a Super Famicom while he was in Japan, of course, but it didn't end up happening. I saw this, of course, and I said, dude, you got to get this thing. Like, the $100 for a box Famicom in good condition, again, you're not gonna find another one at this price in this condition. This is not gonna happen. This is a fluke. And again, so much so that maybe it's too good to be true. But anyways, he didn't end up grabbing it. He's like, I've been busy. I've been buying a lot of things lately. I can't just go out and buy it. And this was like 2 weeks ago. And I just noticed today, it's still up. It's the ad was still up. And I thought, again, it's weird to me that this is such a good price that it's almost too good to be true. And yet it hasn't sold like almost instantly. So I don't know if other people were seeing this and thinking the same thing. Like, it's too good to be true. What's wrong with it? But 2 weeks later, it's still up. And, I looked at the address, and he wasn't far from me. In fact, he's closer to me than he is to my coworker. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go buy it for $100. If it's in better shape than mine, I'll keep this one, and I'll sell my coworker mine for $80. Mine's in better than average shape. I know it works. We actually don't know if this one works yet, but I know mine works. And so for me, I'm basically just paying $20 to get a slightly better conditioned Famicom, and I'm kind of helping out my coworker. He does want it. He said he would buy mine off me for $80. He was worried that maybe this one's not going to work, and I said, look, I know mine works. Mine's in better than average condition. I'll sell you mine for $80, which for him is an amazing deal. This was already an amazing deal. Again, $100 Canadian for this is insane. And even the box, like, mine is in pretty good condition. There's something here, like there was some tape here. But this one, this is slightly yellowing in the picture. But this is like super white and clean in the picture. Now someone wrote NTSC on here with a marker. Of course, it's NTSC-J. Japan is NTSC. So for whatever reason, someone thought to write NTSC on here. That doesn't really make any sense to me. It's a Japanese Famicom. They're all NTSC. You don't need to write NTSC on there. The guy I bought this off of was an older Asian fellow. He was extremely nice. I'll show you in the box partially why. But he said a lot of people are going to have issues getting this to work because, it doesn't have HDMI. You might need to do an HDMI mod. You need a TV that can do channel 30, 93 or 94? I forget. He wrote it down inside. He was so worried that whoever bought this wouldn't be able to get it to work that, he was talking to me about, how to get it to work. And it's like, yeah, I know. I already know this. Don't worry. I have Famicom games already. He's like, it doesn't play NES games. It doesn't play NES games. You have to get special games. He was very, very worried. He was very, very nice. And so immediately I'm like, wow, this dude is like, he's an older Asian gentleman. He said he got this, someone gave this to him as a gift when he came to Canada. But yeah, he was so nice at that point. I'm like, I'm not worried about this being a scam. This is in very good condition. I'm sure it's gonna work. I've talked long enough, but we're gonna take a look at all sides of the box here. Copyright 1983 Nintendo, made in Japan. I'm assuming mine says the same things on the side. Copyright 1983, made in Japan. Yep, slightly different box. Mine doesn't have this. I don't know what this is. Someone can tell me if that's like a Famicom logo, but there's some extra writing on there. But yeah, they both say model HVC-001. But yeah, there's that extra logo here too. So again, I don't know Famicom family. It's just like a stylized Famicom logo. But yeah, mine doesn't have that on the box. And this one does. So slightly different box. But again, I'm not worried. Like, this is legit. You ready for this? This thing is in such good condition. It's insane. And it's got some extra manuals, so I'm not really sure. This is like the same manual that mine had. So this is the actual instruction manual, how to hook it up to your TV and all that stuff. These I'm not too sure. Mine didn't have these. So these are like extra. It's like a comic book almost. Yeah, it's just like a straight up comic book. They're showing inside of a Famicom. What? They're showing the kids like how it works inside. He's opening it up. I have no idea. That's just crazy. What is this one? And this one seems to be like maybe an advertisement for the disc system. Even in his ad, he was worried it was missing the disc system. Like he mentioned several times, it doesn't have the disc system. It's missing the disc. It's not missing the disc system. It just doesn't come. It never came with the disc system. That was an optional extra thing that came out later that you could buy for it. So it's not like it's missing the disc system. It's just it doesn't have the disc system. Well, yeah, so this is all about how the disc system works. They're showing inside the disc system and the motor, the read-write head. That is just bizarre. Wow. That's crazy. Like you wouldn't get that you didn't get anything like that in North America, where they showed you inside of the NES. Or God forbid if we have the disc system inside of the disc system. Very cool. Very cool. So yeah. Well, I just start with the Famicom itself. It's in ridiculously good condition. It still has, I think it still has the peel on the controller. Like the gold part of the controller has like a protective clear. I'm not even going to try to peel that off. I'm leaving that on there. Yeah, this one I can't. Yeah, it's still on there. Look at the volume slider for the microphone. And controller 2. The Famicom has its controllers hardwired. And on controller 2, there was a microphone. A rarely used feature. I don't think it was used that often. And I don't think Nintendo, they never offered like an official microphone accessory for the NES, but from the get-go, there was a microphone on controller 2. But yeah, there is still a clear film on that. Look at this thing. It's zero yellowing. Still has the sticker up here and the cover for the... this was like an expansion port. Because the controllers were hardwired, if you needed to use the zapper gun, I don't think they called it the zapper in Japan. The zapper looked more like a revolver in Japan. But the light gun, if you needed to use the light gun, then that would plug in here. Now let me check mine, because now I'm curious. Yeah, mine does not have the cover. It does have the sticker there pointing to it, but it doesn't have the cover. Again, this one's in better condition than mine, and mine I think is already in better than average condition. So yeah, we got the eject mechanism, power switch, reset switch, and the little flap that just covers the cartridge slot. That cartridge slot even looks... It looks like new in there. That's insane. This thing is in... And again, I don't think it's fake. Like, look at the back. It doesn't have like AV or something obvious on it. It's RF, as it should be. Again, copyright 1983, made in Japan. The screws are in absolute mint condition. This thing is in absolute, like, new condition. This is insane. Now there's some differences here. I don't think this is the an original power supply. So mine has... I think mine might be the... Yeah, mine's the original power supply. HVC-002. It says Nintendo Co. Limited. And it's 10 volts DC, 850 milliamps, and center pin negative. I actually needed to know that, so that's good. So yeah, made in Japan. So mine has the original power adapter. And mine actually has the original... I think that's the original RF switch. Is that how they did it? It's very strange. It's not like your Type F coaxial screw-on. It's where you had like the separate spade connectors for... Would that be UHF? Well, it's Japanese, so it's completely different. So in North America for RF, we use like channel 2, 3, or 3, 4. And in Japan, now where is it? Because he wrote it down. Where is that? Was that in here? Where did it go? Where did it go? You're like, what is he talking about right now? Well, he wrote it down. There was a little piece of paper, and he wrote down equivalent to what we used for channel like 3, 4. In Japan, it's completely different, or at least when you're bringing the Japanese system over here, and the frequencies for our channels are different, right? So, yeah, he had that written down, but I guess I lost it. It's probably in my car. But anyways, yeah, so that's not the official power adapter. This one has a switch for selecting 110 volt or 220 volt, but I'm not even going to bother using this. I have... like a Type C, This is like a power delivery PD with a 9-volt trigger. This does 9 volts DC, and I've got an adapter here if you need, I think it's center pin positive, or you put the adapter on and then it's center pin negative. So I'm going to use that to power it, assuming it works. And I've got a copy of Popeye out just to test it, the latest Famicom game that I've picked up, and I know it's a clean cartridge and it works. There's some other cables in here. Again, some sort of a generic, this is like your antenna / game switch, which is actually on the back of the Famicom, so normally the switch wouldn't be on here, but this just lets you have the antenna and the game system, I guess, hooked up at the same time. So kind of a weird little thing. Obviously, I'm not going to use that, but I am going to use, oh, I almost lost it. It's mixed in with the power cord here. This just looks like it's just, I'm guessing, like a shielded RF cable. I can't tell if that center pin's bigger on this one. It's almost like the male end on both ends, but it's recessed on this one, and it doesn't have like the castellated, I don't know what you would call that, but the way the outer sleeve is a little bit different on both ends. But assuming, let's see. So on the back of a real Famicom, you have your channel selector. So for Japan, it is channel 1, channel 2. But again, the way that works out over here ends up being, again, I think it's like 64, 65 or something like that. But your TV / game switch is actually on the back of the system, not usually on your RF block or box. And unlike in North America with the NES, we got the automatic switching box, where as soon as you turned on the system, that would like override the antenna or your cable pass through. So on here, you had to reach back and do it manually. And no AV out, no composite AV out on the back of the Famicom, unlike the NES. Once the NES came out to North America, they added the AV out on the side. So yeah, this is obviously the original. This predates, this came out in what, 1983, I think. And the NES, a lot of people say 1985. Realistically, it's more like 1986. There's a whole thing with the history of the NES launch in the US. And everyone goes, oh, I remember getting my NES in 1985. No, you didn't. You probably didn't get it. Most people got it in 87, 88. I think the action set came out in 88, where you just got Mario, Duck Hunt with 2 controllers and the zapper. And that's how most people got the NES. So most people didn't get their NES until 1988, but it was out in Japan in 1983. But yeah, so if this fits in the back, so that does not fit, but this side will. Okay, so that side fits on there. I'm not sure if this side will fit onto my like RCA phono to Type F screw-on coaxial little adapter. But assuming my little adapter will fit in there, then that would be a good cable just to go to the TV. And yeah, we'll give this thing a test and see if it actually works. Yeah, so this is the other end of that cable, and this is my little like RCA to Type F screw-on little coaxial adapter thing. And yeah, it's like super loose. So this end is not like standard like quote unquote RCA phono jack. It's like slightly bigger, and I think that inner pin is slightly smaller. So yeah, interesting. It didn't fit on the back of here. You would think it would fit on the back of there, but just be loose. Or maybe that is. I guess that is fitting on. Again, it's just loose. I thought it wasn't going in all the way, but it is actually going in all the way. Again, it's just like it's loose, so I can't really use this cable as I was kind of hoping. Kind of would have been nice to have a good like shielded RF cable like that, assuming this is shielded, but Yeah, unfortunately, that's just too loose. So I'll have to find some other cable to use, or maybe I'll have to use like an NES style, the RF auto switch box thing. But yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay, so we got the Famicom out. We got the USB Type C PD power brick here. This cable, again, has a 9-volt trigger inside. That's very important. We don't want to send this 5 volts. That's probably too low, especially with the voltage regulator. We want to send it realistically as close to 9 volts as possible. This is 9 volts. We have the little polarizer reverse polarizer dongle on there. This by default is center pin positive. We need this to be center pin negative. That is very important. Okay, so this is 9 volts DC center pin negative going into the back of the Famicom here. I couldn't find an RF box. I thought I had a bunch, you know, the old Nintendo gray auto RF boxes, even the Sega ones. I can't find any of them. Maybe I threw them out at one point thinking, who needs these anymore? Probably a good idea to keep some of those around because at least those are properly shielded RF cables. I am using basically an AV stereo composite cable. The video cable is at least thicker than the audio cables, so I'm assuming this is somewhat shielded, but I don't know if it's shielded in the same way or to the same degree that an actual RF cable would be shielded. We're not using composite. Remember, this does not output composite video. This is RF, okay? This is just going through this cable because it's what I have. On the other end of this cable, I got the little like RCA to Type F screw-on thingy, and then that's screwed onto the, you know, antenna or cable input on the back of my TV, okay? So that plugs in there, and we're gonna take Popeye and pop that in there, and zoom out a little bit here, and I'm gonna turn this on. And nothing happened. Try that again. Got power. Hey, why isn't it working now? Oh. How did that get flipped? The little switch on the back of the Famicom was on TV. And that needs to be flipped over to game. I don't know how that got flipped in the time I was setting this up and testing it to the time I'm showing it to you now. But apparently, probably when I reached back there to pull the power thing out. Anyways, so yes, there's no tricks here. Okay. This is this Famicom. Plugged in through RF. Now, a couple of things on the TV here. So I kept saying it needed to be on like channel 64 or 65. We're not on channel 64 or 65. We're on channel 95. It needs to be on channel 95. I initially hooked this all up, turned it on, got my TV remote, and I told it we were using aerial or antenna, and it wouldn't let me go up to channel 95. And I was like, uh-oh, my TV won't let me go up to channel 95. That's no good. I'm going to have to get a VCR out, go into the VCR, set the VCR to channel 95, and then come out of the AV ports on the VCR to my TV or to my RetroTink, and then go to the TV HDMI. But then I went back into the TV settings. I changed it from aerial or antenna to cable TV, but not cable TV digital. One of them said cable TV digital, and one of them just said cable TV. So I set it to cable TV instead of aerial/antenna, and then it let me go up as high as channel 95. So we got that on channel 95, and all things considering, it looks okay. Now it did default to 16:9. And again, I had to go into the TV settings and So yeah, I had to go into all settings and aspect ratio. So it was defaulted to 16:9, and I had to change that to 4:3. So there's Popeye working. Okay. I have the TV muted. I have the TV muted. Oh, there we go. It's unmuted. I had it muted so the snow wasn't making noise. But I'm going to take out... so I'm going to take out Popeye. I'm going to put in Super Mario Brothers here. And I'm going to show you the last issue, which I don't think there's anything I can do about. So we got Super Mario Brothers. I'm going to hit start. We can hear the audio. I'll turn that up a little bit. And we're playing Super Mario Brothers. Oh my god, the input latency is insane. I don't know if this is going to come across, but the input latency is like crazy high. It's not playable. And I was like, okay, well, we just got to put the TV in game mode. I mean, that happens all the time. That's normal. So I hit Game Optimizer. It says this only works with HDMI inputs. I can go to picture mode. None of these are game mode. We got standard, APS, cinema, sports, filmmaker, expert, vivid, and back to standard. I can't put my TV into game mode when we're going through RF. Who would have thought that was going to be a problem? So, yeah, again, and I don't think there's anything I can do about that. This is basically unplayable. The only thing I could do, again, is get a VCR out, go through the VCR's tuner on channel 95, and then plug the composite AV out of the VCR into my RetroTink, and then go from my RetroTink to the TV via HDMI, and then we could be in game mode. So it's doable, and that's just an issue with the TV. Maybe that's a common thing with RF on these modern TVs. You just can't use game mode when you're not in the HDMI. This is very hard to play right now, but it works. The system clearly works fine. Again, the image quality isn't perfect. It probably would be a little bit better if we had a proper RF cable, but it works. It's working. It works. So that's great. One last thing before I forget, and again, I had that muted because of the snow noise there. On the front of the Famicom here, there's some sort of note here. So if someone can translate that for me, let me know what that says. Clearly it's power on here, but what the rest of that says, I would like to know. So yeah, the Famicom works great. I mean, both games, are working first try as far as the cart slot goes. So yeah, it's in excellent condition, and it seems to work just fine. So again, I think I'm going to keep this one, and I'm going to sell my old one for $80 to my coworker who did say that he wanted a Famicom. So he's getting a Famicom in better than average condition for a really good price. And for $20 more, I got a Famicom in, like, I've never seen one in this good of condition before. This thing is basically like brand new, so that is kind of crazy. So anyways, yeah, that's it, guys. That is my new Famicom. And yeah, a little video showing how to get RF working and all that crap too, and a modern way to power these, because even if you have the original Japanese power adapters, those I believe are looking for, is it 100 volts or 110? I mean, 110 wouldn't be far. Yeah, 100 volts AC. So in Japan, they used 100 volts AC, where we use 115. And our 115, realistically, it's more like 120, I think. So this would work, but expecting 100 volts and getting 120 on the input side means the output side is going to be a little bit high. And this is already 10 volts, and it's not regulated, right? So it's going to be even higher than that. And so it's kind of better just to use this and get a solid regulated 9 volts instead of feeding this thing. I don't even know what that would come out as when that is getting 120 volts AC. When it's expecting 100, it might end up putting out 12 volts, which is kind of high for that voltage regulator. So keeping that at a regulated 9 volts is much better. So having that is great. I mean, if you didn't, I guess you could use this, but there's a little bit of a risk there. Yeah, so great way to power it. And in a pinch, using this as an RF cable, it works. Maybe not ideal, but it did work. So yeah, everything really honestly worked fine. Just the TV not having game mode on RF input threw me off. I was not expecting that to be the issue. Otherwise, yeah, everything works and it's in outstanding condition. So I guess that is it. See you guys later.